What is up, winning team? Hello, guys. I am here to talk about the fact that I am so proud to be a member of Gen Z, and I feel like Gen Z is the future. And I'm going to tell you guys why, okay? And it's because of the weekend that I had, and just being with people in my generation, honestly, is just amazing, okay? So I'm going to get into the crux of it all, because the last year or so, and especially since I woke up to everything in my own life, my own experiences, but now talking and just experience and actually taking stock of the differences between my experiences in my generation, Gen Z, versus other generations. Now I'm excluding the millennials, because I kind of include the millennials. I just don't relate to the millennials as much, because I feel like the millennials are still a little bit tame for me. But I love y'all, and I feel like we're still on the same team. We're in the same thing. But you guys are kind of the more, mature, older siblings, I feel. And the rest of us are a little bit more out there. And so let me tell you guys why I'm saying this, because there's a few different situations that have happened in the last 48 hours. And then also just my experience over the last year or so, right? So we'll start with this. So was it yesterday? On Sunday, anyways, my brother, I said to you guys before, my youngest brother's 15. So between me and him, we basically are almost the entirety of the Gen Z generation. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Down there with him and his age group as my students, because it's the same age as the kids I teach. Yeah, there's a lot of things with them that I don't connect with. And I feel like this is what the millennials probably feel about me. That's why I'm saying, look, hey, I just stay the oldest over here. There's so much about them that I don't really get, and they're definitely ahead in a lot of things. Especially when it comes to things like technology. I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to understand, because you guys are above my pay grade here. But what I will say is, I told you guys that for years and years and years, I've always said to my brothers, listen, it doesn't matter where I am on the planet, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If you need help, with school, you ask me, because there's no reason for you not to do extremely well. And I made it clear, obviously, that I don't think school is the be-all and end-all, because it really isn't. I don't even believe in the school system. I hate the school system. I think it's a waste of time. I think it's entirely redundant, right? Which you're going to come to proof of this from this experience I'm about to tell you guys about, right? But just tell me, So finally, I'd come to my knowledge that he was doing mock exams end of last year, just to recap for those of you who don't know. And so when I found that out, I was like, oh, I'm going to tell him immediately. I was like, listen, take your mock exams very seriously. Take them really, really seriously. I told him as well. I was like, look, if you and your friends ever need anything, if they're your actual friends and that you people you consider a good friend, I will also help them completely for free, right? Because listen, as I've said to you guys, my thing is, I invest, young people have to be invested in by those who know more and those who are above. That's one thing I lacked my whole life, I felt like. And the times when I did have it, it was game-changing for me. You know what I mean? So I say to them, my thing isn't to complain, it's to invest. That's the whole point. We nurture kids, you look after them, you nurture them, you guide them, and that's what helps them to succeed. Because it's, again, I've said to you guys, I find it funny how the adults can apply the logic of, oh, this is our first time at living, to themselves, but you can't apply that same logic to the children. I've never understood that. You expect your kids to just know stuff, right? And to get frustrated when they can't do things right the first time, but then you guys can't do things right the first time. So that's what I've said is my biggest issue with this whole hypocrisy. Hold on one second. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that you guys are going to hear what I was saying. Anyways, so that's my thing. My thing is, look, I feel like I don't have a lot figured out in this life. I feel like I've got a lot to figure out. But there's a few things I can do well. And if I can do them and they can help my generation, I'm going to do it, because I'm not just going to sit here and talk down my generation. So yeah, anyways, eventually comes to my knowledge. So I told him, and he did super duper well in a lot of subjects, particularly maths and physics. He got really high marks, right? Which I was so happy. To tell you guys about this is going to be confusing, but pretty much they've changed the system of grading now at school. I have to explain this quickly. So it used to be, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. Or EF, yeah. But now they do 1 to 9 system. So 9 is like an A star or an A++. It's very confusing. Anyway, and a pass is between a 4 and a 6, depending on who's asking, depending on the employer, depending on. So I'm saying they've made it even more confusing. But anyways, The point being, doesn't really matter to me because, hey, all the kids I teach, I always teach them with the aim of shooting for the absolute stars. I'm not there trying to just get them a 7 or just get them at no. We shoot for the absolute maximum we can possibly do, and we just do our best. And that's how I like to do things, because why set a ceiling when, and again, it's actually unwise to set like a ceiling to say, oh, I'm aiming to get a B, because then if you just miss the B, you're screwed. Whereas if you are just shooting for the stars as best as you can. Anyway, so my brother finally cashed in after the mocks, and they've got this chemistry exam, him and his friends, this very week. And they had a topic that they were all confused about. Now, they're not all in the same class, but they all have to do this test, right? And so they decided, can we actually organize to actually like cash in? And I was like, thank you. I like when I offer people things that I can actually do and they actually ask me, which again, the young people seem to do all the time. So he asked me, we did it, but the situation day one didn't go as amazing as it could have, for one simple reason. They are 15-year-old boys. So they were disorganized. So had we asked our parents? No. Any of them? No. Had we turned up on time? No. We arrived 20 minutes late. But you know what? I didn't make a big kerfuffle. I said, look, we'll do a shorter session, because you guys need to go and like you need to tell your parents. You can't just like not. Did you know what I mean? Like, I just told them that casually, and I didn't even say anything about the fact that they were late. Okay, because I was like, the fact that they've arrived is the win, right? And this is again with kids. They are, they're still figuring things out. They're a bit aloof, whatever. So you gotta just kind of pick and choose your battles, right? So that's what I do with kids. I pick and choose my battles, and my battle is always to make sure that they get to wherever they need to get to. And the other things on the outside, the peripherals, we can work on those as we go. So I was like, if they're late again, then I'll say something about it. But for now, we'll leave it as it is. So we did our session. And as I said in one of my previous videos, one of the kids was like, oh my gosh, I've learned more in this 5 minutes than last 5 minutes than I feel like I've learned in the whole of chemistry. Because chemistry was the subject my brother did the worst in. And I was just like, you can't do the worst in chemistry when you have a sister who teaches chemistry. Like, it doesn't work, So it's their final year. In this coming next May, June, they'll be the ones sitting their GCSE exams, which I sat 12 years ago, which is important. So we do that. They were really happy. They were like, we're really happy with this. I said, look, this is what we're going to do, because of the whole situation with the being a bit disorganized and not really planning, but still all showing up on a Friday after school, when normally they'd all be playing video games together. Because again, I want to hear from the older generation. I'm yet to see where these so-called kids that are so problematic are, because the kids I teach are not like that. In any of the job roles that I've done, they're not the spawns of Satan I hear of from my generation, from the older generation. They're actually really easy to work with. And again, just what I'm saying, my brother and his friends all decided within themselves and organized within themselves that they wanted to do this. I just said, look, I'll tell you the times I'm available. I'm not doing anything else. And then I'll show up. And if you give me the time or whatever, then I'll plan the lesson properly, right? So we did that. And it was like a proper school lesson, because like I said, I had the idea of like in the TV, I was like, I wonder if I can plug into my laptop into the TV, because I know my brother has his PS5 plugged into the TV at my mom's house. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna try and see if I can plug my laptop in with the HDMI and see if I can put it on. So we did. So it worked. So the whole thing, and they were all like, whoa, this is so cool. This feels real. And they all sat there, right, ready. So the first day, they weren't prepared. I was prepared. I bought the paper. I bought everything. You know what I mean? We did the thing, and they were really encouraged. So I said, look, let's do a short thing, because your parents are going to panic. You need to contact them, whatever. And then we'll reschedule. We'll do something properly once we've all made sure we've done everything properly, right? So we did. That was Sunday, right? So yes, that was yesterday. So yesterday, we met up 2 p.m. When I tell you, I was the one who was late. These boys showed up early, and there was extras because they'd heard the news of what had gone down on Friday. And so extras came along to this thing, right? So I was just like, this is cool. They'd called other guys. In the end, not all of them who said they wanted to come showing up, but there was a few of them, right? So we're now doing this. And when I tell you guys, we finished at 6:38 p.m. And it was me who finished it because they wanted to do more questions. one of them was like, I knew he had to go because I knew what time his mum said he had to leave. And the whole process of going through it was what was insane to me, because this now, they've come the second day, they're on time, they've brought their own utensils, they're ready at the time that they're ready at the time. Like, this is what I mean when I say, when you work with kids, because they're still in their logical thinking and they haven't been battered and bruised and lobotomized by adulthood, right? Where you just become this little sheep that can't think for yourself and just follows along with whatever the societal norm of the time. They actually respond to things that make sense to them. So they saw a lot of value in what they had experienced before, and therefore no one had to force them. I didn't even overthink it. I just double checked everybody was good for the time. I set the time on Friday. We were going to meet on Sunday. I was like, let's meet at 2 p.m. if that's okay with you guys. Go and ask your parents, yada, yada, yada. And I left the responsibility with my brother. I was like, make sure all your friends check with their parents, and you as well. Make sure you check with mum because he hadn't checked either, my ayah. And so we started the lesson, and I was the one who was late. Like I said, I was the one who was there. They were all sitting there ready with their notebooks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect you guys to be on time. And you see what I'm saying, how because I just focused on the most important task at hand, which is what you have to do with kids, they just kind of figured other things out, right, for themselves. So they were on time, they figured it out, whatever. So we're doing this lesson, right, and it's going really well, and they're really enjoying it. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what I mean when people talk about my generation. I'll be sitting there, like, while I'm watching them working away, and they started to, like, race against each other. I race against them. It's one of the things I do with the kids because it's kind of fun. Like, when they start to understand the work and they're enjoying it, then they want to see, they're shocked by how quick it is because they follow my advice. That's what I love about my generation is we listen to people that make sense. And when somebody tells you something logical, you actually follow it, and then we try it, and then it works out, and then we actually do it. So that's what happened. I told them, I was like, listen, at first, a lot of this stuff I'm going to say is going to hurt your head. I just need you to keep pushing through. If you can do it, and if you can do that, it's going to get to the point where once it clicks, you're going to be able to do all the questions really quickly, right? Because that's the truth. With all these logical subjects, the chemistries, the physics, the maths, when you focus on wrapping your brain around the concept properly and wrapping your brain around the logic of what you're dealing with, once it clicks, if you can push through that uncomfortable part, that's where I feel like that I respect them more than I respect the other generations, again, excluding millennials, because they can handle the uncomfortability, that extremely uncomfortable moment, and just because I'm there just patiently, I'm quite nonchalant about everything, right? I'm just there patiently, like just see it through, like just they hold on, they push through, and then they get to the other side, and then they see themselves doing things they didn't think they were capable of doing. This is literally what happens in all of my lessons all the time, right? And so when that happens and it clicks, and all of a sudden they realize they can do something that's like way harder than what they thought they could do, and they can do it really easily and really quickly, they get into it. So they started to compete against each other. It got crazy, and they were competing against me. One of them was working even faster than I was, which I don't mind. I'm happy about it. I say to them, like, look, just make sure that you're doing it conscientiously. Make sure you get your answers correct, and all of this. And I'm giving them all the exam tips, every single tip I can possibly think of. And they're working away, and they are working really, really hard. I was so impressed. Like, I remember it got to like 4:38. They were still going, and I could see they were tired. So I was like, I'm going to send you guys off, because they talked about how they were going to go out to eat after they finished. And I was like, why don't you guys just go and get some food now? Because I'm going to go buy some food. Because I could see that they wanted to continue, but they were deteriorating. Again, because I'm an adult, that's the job that you do as an adult, because kids don't know what to do for themselves. They're just existing and figuring a lot of stuff out. So I could see that we were a bit worse for wear. I'd already given them some snacks and stuff and whatever. And like, I was like, yeah, we need a break. They need to stretch their legs. You know what I mean? So I was like, you guys go. And they went and they came back. I want to tell you, as soon as they got back, immediately they took their stuff out. They were ready to take notes, and they're ready to continue, because we were going to do another major topic, right? Now, here's the key thing. This is their attitude, and it was great. They left. They were also grateful. They were like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it, because we managed to cover the entire chapter that's going to come up in this exam, which is an entire chapter of their textbook, which, praise Jesus, because I was worried. I was like, what if we don't do one? In the back of my head, I was thinking, what if we don't get to do like one bit, and that's the bit that comes up in the test? And I was worried for them, because so all three of them who was there, they were all in different situations. And this is what I'm saying about the stupid stuff about the education system, yeah? One of them was supposed, one of them, so my brother is in one class. They're all in 3 different classes, right? So one of them is doing further science, so he hasn't yet done this topic at all. The other 2 had both done the topic last year before summer, right? They're all studying different things now. They're not doing chemistry, but they're doing they're being asked to do a chemistry exam. And again, it's the first week back. So I'm like, what value do we actually have in testing them on like the first, second week back when they're still going to be groggy? Because like, again, we're all like that. We're all like that. Think about it, guys. It's like when you've been off, if you've gone off on holiday or something, you've taken time off. The first couple, maybe first half of the day, maybe first day, maybe first 2 days, you still got to get back into the swing of things, right? So I don't understand why they're being put onto these exams, and these exams are being made to be so important, hence why they're taking it so seriously. So one of them, so one of them has not even done this topic yet. One of them has done it, and they were telling me all the stuff about like their experiences, like, well, they were just talking about it casually as they were going, as we were going, through the work. And it's funny because one of them has a teacher that actually hates me. My brother goes to the school I used to go to, and there's a teacher, she's a chemistry teacher, she teaches one of them, and she absolutely hates me if she discovers that I have a chemistry, and for rightly so, because when I was at school, right, she was a supply teacher, she wasn't like a real official teacher at the time. And she always used to brag about having 2 chemistry degrees, which is so ironic. That's why I'd love to just tell her that I have a chemistry degree, because I think that would be her 13th reason. So yeah, so they were telling me, so one of them has her, and I was like, oh, she hates me. And that was because I wasn't really well behaved. But the thing about me, and this is my thing about how I teach, is like at school I was like, well, I feel like if I've done the work, then why should I have to like sit here prim and proper like a little stickler child? I want to talk to my friends. I want to have fun. So that's what we used to do in maths when I was like in year 7 or whatever. What I used to do is we'll just finish the work like in like 10, 15 minutes and just get it done, all the questions, all the everything, right? So then me and my friends would literally put our tables together. I don't know why on earth my teacher, shout out to her though for this, let us put our tables together. We'll put our tables together. We'll sit like in a square like situation. And then we used to play 21 Dares. It was so much fun, right? In maths. That's what I used to do in maths when I was in like year 7 or 8 or I don't know. Anyways, so I was that kind of kid. Like I wasn't really well behaved. I think a lot of people think I was well behaved. Also, I wasn't really good I didn't think I was smart in school because I wasn't like getting top grades. I didn't come out of school with 15 A's or something like that. I didn't actually. I came out with 4 A's. What I get? 4 A's, 6 B's, 1 C in my GCSEs. And my C was in history of all things. And my 4 A's were chemistry. But what? Chemistry, maths, exactly. Like who does that? Who only gets A's in like chemistry, maths? Oh yeah, chemistry, maths, religious studies. And then we had to do, you won't believe this, because we were fast track RE, religious education, as in some of us, they thought we could get the whole 2 years done in 1 year, which would give us another year to gain another extra GCSE or part A level. So I did that. And my whole paper that I spent a whole year on of religious studies, you will not believe, was on abortion. So that's another funny thing that just so happened to have happened when I was 16. So that's why I know a lot about abortion. And that's why I always knew I would never get one, because I just done a whole year's worth of research at 16 about it. And I was like, I can't do it, right? Anyways, so, and I was faced with the opportunity. And as you guys know, I've had a miscarriage. So I've had an opportunity to think, oh, if I was going to get an abortion, it would be now. And I chose not to. And I was like, look, I'm going to have to see this through because it's just not going to happen. Anyways, so, so I'm not done like amazingly well, but it's funny that those are the type of subjects I did well in, because this is I always used to try the subjects I liked, and I didn't really try that hard the subjects I didn't care for, because again, I was more interested in my social life. School has always been a 4th or 5th priority in my life. Dance has always been above, like dance and the creative stuff has always been above. My social life has always been above. The Lord has obviously always been number 1. So yeah, so we're doing all of this and they're telling me stuff and they're explaining how, oh, this makes so much sense now. They didn't get this before, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because I'm thinking I was there. I sat those exams. I sat that exam board in that school. I know exactly what it's like. And the work they're doing, the topic we're doing is a topic I did at A level. So 2 years later, like after I've chosen to go into the sciences. And so they're telling me that they started learning this in year 8. So when I'm telling you guys, I'm seeing these exams are harder because I sat these exam boards, I sat these exams, I know what these kids are in because we were the guinea pigs. We were told in school, the same teachers these guys are complaining about. I was told that we are the guinea pigs for the new system, right? We're the guinea pigs. So that was what my generation was, the guinea pigs. So, you know, So, so we're doing all of this, and they're telling me all of this. They're like, it's so confusing at school because we'll be learning chapter 17 in biology, and then all of a sudden chapter 7 in chemistry. And I'm like, exactly, that's why it's confusing, because when you do the things properly down a certain one pathway, it because that's what I do. Like I said, with everything, I build everything up. I start with the most basic thing that we can all understand, and then I add one layer, and then I add another layer, and then I add another layer, and then before you know it, you're doing something extremely complicated. But because we took a logical pathway, and they were like, oh, if we taught like this at school, I would understand it. And I was like, I know. I had to learn this lesson the hard way because I had to figure this out after the fact, because that's the truth. I figured out my methods of teaching is very different to how the schools does things. That's why I can't, me and the school, we're like oil and water, and they still, the thing is, they do well in those same exams. So that's why I'm like, so why are we doing that system? But anyway, the point was, they worked really hard. I was hearing out their things, all of their stresses, and I completely understood where they were coming from, because like I said, I've been there. And these exams are way harder than what I had to do when I was at their level, at their age, way harder. So that's why I try my best to help them as much as possible. I tell them when things are ridiculous, because there was one part where they'd ask me, like, what is such and such? Because we've been talking about the names, because they're doing hydrocarbons, alkanes, alkenes, methane, butane, hexene, pentene, octene, all that stuff. And they have to learn that stuff. They've got to do combustion, all of that, the crude oils, the fractional distillation. That's basically the topic we were doing. And, understanding how the distiller works, why different fuels are used for different things, how to do the balanced equations for combustion and incomplete combustion. That was the highlight of the day, because the balanced equations were going crazy and they're really good at them now. I always make sure kids are really good at balanced equations, because one of the things that you need, because that's one of the things we always used in the lab, because you have to calculate how much you need for this, how much you need of that. And again, if you ask me, do you need to know that at 15, 16, if you're not going to actually go into chemistry? No, which is why I think the whole curriculum is stupid, right? Because it's like, why are they learning this? This is something you learn if you're like actually going to go into the field. This isn't something that they need for the basics of life. That's why I feel like school has got so many extras that are not just the basics of life. And that's why the kids are overwhelmed with so much stuff they have to learn. And it's like, we should strip it back to focusing on just the things they need. That's why I was so irritated when I heard that the government has gone in, instead of investing in the core subjects like maths and English and whatever, they've gone and put 50 million towards this language teaching in this country. 50 million. I'm like, do you know what 50 million would do? Like for maths and say maths and English, which is the ones that a lot of these kids can't even get those basics. So anyway, yeah, we did all of that, and they were just surprised and shocked and very grateful, so respectful the entire time. Thank you so much. And I was looking at them, I was thinking, I can't believe how and I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still 15-year-old boys. Do you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And even the girls are the same. I remember when I was in London still, I remember I used to have this, I used to teach at this, basically, this is what I always used to do in London. I realized that the easiest way to get something is make a mutually beneficial deal, right? So if I want to achieve something, I'll find somebody who has something I want and I'll offer them something that they want. So there was a guy who owned this building, and it was like a hub for young people, right? But it was on the same road as Google and YouTube and Facebook and all of this in central London. But it was like a tech space. So although upstairs they had a dance studio, they had a kitchen and meeting space, whatever, but downstairs they had 2 insane music studios. They had a VR room where you could go in there and do VR, all the latest. This is before it was as popular as it is now. They had a 3D printing room. They had a game design room. They had all these tech rooms where you could just do all this technology forward stuff for the young people. And so I pitched the idea to the guy. I was like, look, how about you let me use your space as an office space? Because you can book offices, spaces there. So let me use this as an office space, and I'll teach a class for you for free, because they were doing this Monday girls' night only thing, for young women. And again, I'm working with the young women. They're amazing. They're so much fun to work with. They're hilarious. But then also it was quite deep to hear the stuff that they were going through, at school, at home, and the different things that they were facing. But they were still trying their best. And when you give them, like I said, you help them out and you treat them with love and respect, and also guidance and a firm hand in the right kind of way, right? Because I'm quite firm with them, but not in an aggressive way, in a kind of quiet kind of way, a very nonchalant kind of way. Because I kind of always make it out you can do whatever you want pretty much in my lesson as long as you're doing the work. Like, I'm not one of those sticklers, like you can't go to the toilet or you can't drink your water or you can't have a snack. I always give out snacks. I like to give out snacks because it's tiring. You're using your brain power. Like, we need to rejuvenate their glucose. We need to, you know what I'm saying? So this is why there's a lot of the stuff that happens that I don't like it. You can talk, I don't care. As long as the work's getting done, that's all I care about. Right? And so then if you then ruin those privileges, that's when I'll start taking things away, which obviously they don't want those things taken away. So then they do the work. So then everybody's happy. You see what I'm saying? Rather than me trying to sit there and try and be some stickler and like be breaking my brain trying to get them to all behave in a certain way. And we're not even doing any work and you end up spending like, because this is what other teachers do. They end up spending so much time of their lesson just trying to get the kids to just behave in the certain exact way that they want. I'm just like, it's a waste of time. Anyway. So we did that, and I was just thinking after the fact, I was exhausted myself, right? But I was so impressed that like they went out, they came, they were on time, they were focused, they were working, they were asking questions, they were working hard, they cared to actually do things properly. I was so proud of them, and I was sitting there feeling, and in the back of my head, I'm just hearing the voices that I hear of the adults talking about the younger generation, this younger generation, this generation, this generation, this generation. In the back of my head, my blood was boiling, right? My blood was absolutely boiling watching these 15-year-old boys who've given up their Sunday afternoon, their entire Sunday afternoon. They would have stayed longer. I was the one who finished the lesson. I said, guys, you've done enough. Because once we did all the work, because I'd taken them through my whole PowerPoint and everything, and we'd done some practice questions and stuff. Then we did some past paper questions, like, so they could do questions from their actual paper. Because again, why do we first introduce them to the exam questions, which are done in problem solving style, which is a different style to how you learn them at the end of the year? I always do that from the beginning, at the start of the year, like now, like I'm doing, right? So we did that. We'd gone through some example questions. I was like, honestly, guys, I feel like you've done enough. Because again, I'm not some stickler that's just going to keep you sitting in that seat just to feel better about myself, just to feel like some tyrant, some powerful person that's some authority. It's like, you've done enough work. The questions that they had left, they all had I knew they all knew the answers. We'd done them like 100 times. It's like, guys, let's just wrap it up. Like, let's just be done. And they went, and I was like, perfect, like amazing. And that was it. And we covered the whole entire chapter, and they were like, because at the end I was like, is there anything else we need to do? And then so one of them went into their textbook and like looked, and they read me all he was like, let me read out all the topics that are coming up in this chapter. I was like, cool. Went through the list. Turns out we've done everything. Turns out we did everything except one last thing. I was like, is that everything? I was like, okay, so I'll show you the one last thing. We did that. Done and dusted. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. And then, you know, after that, a friend of mine, I met up with a friend of mine, and he's again, sits in my age group, and I met him through another friend who we all kind of hang out, and she works at one of the shops, and me and her just kind of got to know each other from seeing her at the shops all the time. And so she knew him, and those two were in the car together once, and they saw me, and they stopped, and they're like, hey, and when I was out like on a walk or whatever. So we all started hanging out together and whatever. So anyway, so me and him ended up, you know, catching up with each other, because he, again, my age group, he works 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. at a cafe that his family owns. So it's a family business that he's very much dedicated to. And then after that, he goes and works at another business, which I think is another family business, and he does food deliveries from their restaurant, literally until like 1 a.m. So that's why we're always both awake late at night, and even her, because she works at that shop. The reason I go to that shop is because it closes super late. So, you know, he's now crashing out, right? And he also is funny because he's such like, he's the guy who wakes up every day and he reads the newspaper, like he makes a cup of tea and reads the newspaper. So I'm saying it's so funny because, again, my generation is supposed to be these demons, right? We're these demons that just came out from nowhere, that just don't have any sense of hard work and don't know what work is and whatever, right? Cool. And he was crashing out, and I like speaking to him because he's always completely up to date with world news. So I don't bother to check the world news and everything, because he's obviously going to update us on what's happening and what's happening in the world, what's happening in here, what's happening in there. And then we were just talking about stuff, and he's been, the last couple of times we've all seen each other, like he's been crashing out. And I'm so glad to hear the crash out, because he's crashing out about the state of the world. He's crashing out about the state of this country. He's crashing out about the state of everything. He's crashing out about like how people just seem to just be like aloof. And he's like, oh, how you just be, because obviously he works in a cafe. So he's the poor guy who has to deal with just the mundane, like just, no, I don't know, that's the wrong word. The mundane, monotonous, monochrome conversations of in this country of like, oh, the weather, the this, and it's like, you know, that's like, there's way more. And so, you know, just seeing him and like knowing how hard and he works 9 days a week, by the way, which is why I worry about him. And this isn't one of the many reasons I worry about the curse of Adam. I say about the curse of Adam because I respect him for how hard he works. I mean, he even bought himself his car outright that he worked for, this really nice BMW, right? And he got his number plate of his surname. And I was like, that is honestly so respectable, because wow, to be so proud of your surname, because I can't relate. But again, he works in his family business. They all work together. He works with his brother. He works with his dad. He's always speaking so highly of his family and everything. And he's so proud of them. And he's even got his own land and all these. I'm thinking, as I'm having all these conversations, I'm knowing all these people. I know so many young women who are like my age group, who are like, we're like going to the Lord, trying to let the Lord transform us. We're working, we're studying, we're doing everything we can. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just so proud of my generation, like, for not making excuses. That's what I'm saying. I'm so proud that even though we've grown up in these times where we're on social media and we've grown up on technology, and it's, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, again, like I said, these boys, you would think, oh, they're just all on their phones. They're just all on their phones. This is what parents say to me all the time. Oh, my kids, they're just all on their phones. Meanwhile, it's the parents also on their phones. You're there with the kids, trying to get them to do homework. The homework you also can't do, by the way. And then you're the one who's sitting them there next to them scrolling anyway. You're the one who's also on social media anyway, distracting them. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so yeah, it's just like all these experiences that I've had, like with all these kids, like especially the last couple of years. It doesn't matter what their circumstances are, whether it's the kids in private schools, whether it's the kids in public schools that I've worked with, whether it's when I've worked with the kids with special needs who've got 8 different diagnoses, whether they're like, you know what I'm saying, whatever age they are. Like, I'm just like, these guys are tough cookies. Like I said, for these boys to have endured, this was our first ever time. So it's not like we had the rapport of like what I would normally have with kids, where I know them, where I know how far I can push them and stuff like that, because I have to learn how to gauge that, you know what I'm saying? Because I do push them pretty far further than what they think they can do, because again, that's the point, a little bit, you know what I mean? But within reason and stuff. So to see them working so hard, then to have caught up with my friend and to see him, like, again, he's working and he takes pride in his work. He doesn't complain about it at all. He's happy. He wakes up, he reads his newspaper, starts work at 7 a.m, finishes at 4, goes to his next job, is doing deliveries for his family's business for literally the rest of the day, all the way into the early hours of the morning, and then he goes to bed for some hours and does it all again 9 days a week. 9 days a week. 9 days a week he does that. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, like so many of the other people that I know, again, other people in my age group doing the same thing. Another one of my friends, he works 2 jobs. He's doing all of this. He's also a musician. So when he's not working his 2 jobs and looking after himself and doing everything he does for himself, he's going to the studio, recording his things, trying to push forward, trying to do things. Like, I'm like looking at my generation, like I said, with all these girls, the ladies that I know, again, similar thing, like they're working hard with like, and I'm just like, where is this? I want to know where. And again, as I said to you guys in the other video, it is Gen Z who are 22% of Gen Z are 22%. Gen Z are the number one generation buying Bibles, buying actual physical Bibles. And it's just crazy to me that, like, how is it that we got to the point where our generation became villainized? And I realized it's the gaslighting and it's the jealousy, right? It's the gaslighting. Sorry that our brains are not fried from doing psychedelics by the lake when we were growing up, before Facebook and all these things existed, while we were saying slurs and things, before we could get cancelled. Sorry that we grew up on technology that we didn't pay for. You know what I'm saying? Sorry that we think for ourselves and we're critical thinkers. Sorry that we had access to so much knowledge that we were able to put 2 and 2 together and realize that it actually equals 4 and not 5. Sorry about that. Sorry that we're willing to step up for things. Sorry that we're not going to make excuses and we'd rather do the work to fix our own issues. You know what I'm saying? Because when I hear, like, talk to all these different people, even hearing my brother and his friends amongst each other, like, because again, it was really sweet how they all started to help each other and work together and just whatever. Because I was like, this could be his friends for life. That's the main reason why I was part of the reason I was doing. I was like, this could be his friends for life. Like, so I could be it's important to me to give them, like, to really support them in winning, because, you know, life is tough, especially because, you know, for them as young guys. So I'm like, let me give them the best footing they have, because in my mind, I'm envisioning them all in like 10, 15 years, all going off and like booking a villa somewhere super, like in Monaco for a week, because they're all filthy freaking rich. That's what my hope is for them. And they can do whatever they want, and they can have whatever options they want. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so I'm looking at I'm looking at my experience with the kids. I'm looking at my experience with, like, you know, my peers, so like my actual friends and like people that I know of my age group. I'm listening to our conversations. We're not just talking about world events and, oh my gosh, can you believe this? We're talking about stuff that we talk about those things, and then we talk about what we're doing physically ourselves individually to counteract those things, and to like actually make a change, or to be prepared, or like whatever. And I'm just so proud. Like, I was just like, you know what? Like, I've just this morning, I was just like, you know what? I'm so proud, like, of my generation. I'm so proud to be a member of Generation Z, because I feel like we're doers, we're thinkers, we challenge things, not because we just like to have a problem with everything. But this is, again, like, I feel like the old generation is hella jealous. And the reason why I say that as well is because I always used to wonder, like, why do older people have to like always want to make you feel bad for being happy with where, like, for being a young person? Because like older people will be like, oh, well, you're a young person now, you're not going to be young forever. I remember when I was your age and I had good knees and I had, and it's like, so then just let us enjoy it then. Why do you have to rain on our parade and make us feel bad? I don't get it. Like, why do you have to rain on our parade and make us feel bad, like, about it? Good for us. You should be happy for us. You should be happy for us that you know what I'm saying? I'm happy for them. Looking at these kids, like, as I was sitting there looking at these kids, and I was thinking in my head, and it happens to me in all my lessons, every single time, I'm sitting there looking at them, and I'm seeing them enjoying their education and feeling confident and feeling intelligent. And I'm thinking about every single time I cried on results day and how stupid I felt, and all the times people told me I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. I didn't discover I was intelligent until I was like literally an adult, right? And so for me, it's so also kind of healing, even for me, to like make sure that they don't suffer what I suffered. But then I'm also dealing with a generation that seems to be bothered that my generation isn't suffering the way that they suffered in certain kinds of ways. And it's just like, or wanting us to suffer. And I feel like a lot of things that adults do, it's like, like I said with the school thing, like, you guys might have had horrible time in school and have been just told you have to just do what you have to do, and no one cared about how you felt, and no one cared to have patience with you. So now you pass that on. Why would you do that? I'm the opposite. I'm like, the lack of patience I felt, that's why I have unlimited amount of patience for the kids. I'm like, listen, I'm going to dig deep and dig deep and dig deep and dig deep and dig deep, because I know how much patience I needed that I didn't get. And I'm not going to go and do the same things. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I've taken the responsibility, because I'm the older of the generation, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, they're asking me all sorts of questions, and they're asking me questions even about me, like, what grades did you get? What did this? And some of the questions I didn't really want to answer. Some of the things that they asked me, I was a little bit embarrassed about, or I was whatever, or, you know. But the point is, I have to humble myself and just be honest with them, because that's one thing with kids. I always be honest with them. I just find the way to be honest with them that's appropriate for their age, obviously, you know. And they thrive. And that's why, like, I can't come off of this trajectory that I'm now on, because there's just the evidence is so overwhelmingly in favor of everything that I'm saying. And it goes back to what I've been saying about Moses and dying in the wilderness, and the older generation dying in the wilderness, because I'm thinking we get to Joshua, and God says to Joshua, like, be strong and courageous. I'm going to be talking about Joshua today. I'm going to be reading some Joshua because of Rahab, because I had a revelation about Rahab. But yeah, so, you know, I'm just like, I want to know where this generation is that the older generation is speaking of that's so problematic, because my experience with the kids is amazing. And actually everything you guys say about the kids is what I experienced with the adults, which is what made me realize adults are just gaslighting, because they are the actual problem, because the older generation the actual problem. They want us to believe we're the problem. So they have to tell us we're the problem so they can't be the problem. Because there's clearly a problem, right? If you look at the state of affairs of the world in the United Kingdom of Satan, as I'm now calling the world, right? There's clearly a problem. So because they're not willing to take accountability, and they're all walking in pride with their hard heads, their concrete filled skulls that they have to put it onto us and take everything out on us. And again, because we're younger and we're supposed to respect our elders, and we're also very much inexperienced in a lot of ways. It's so easy. Like, that's why people do that with me, I know, because they look at me and they go, oh, she's just cute, the young little defenseless girl. So they just take their anger out. They treat me like a punching bag, say whatever they want to say. I'm like, you would never say that to a grown man. You would never say that to a grown man. You would never treat a grown man like that. You would never speak that way to a grown man, but you speak that way to me because I'm a young woman. And now I know what the kids are going through. And again, I can see it because it's so funny when you work with kids and then you meet their parents and it all clicks. Everything clicks. You meet their parents and then you're like, they're like, you know, seeing them off at the gate, like they're going home, the parents come to pick them up, and you meet the parents, you talk to the parents for about 2 seconds and you're like, oh, oh, I know, I get it now. You know what I mean? I get it now. And even the kids, every now and then, they make these little comments about things, you know, in their lives, that you're like, that tells you about the environment, you know, that they're in. So I'm just like, my peers, like, I'm out because, like, my friend, the one who was crashing out, he's been crashing out a lot, and I told him, I was like, no, I'm actually enjoying this. It's nice to finally hear somebody be as annoyed and upset and passionate about everything that's going on in the world as I am, because it just feels like no one seems to care that much. And he was like, yeah. And when we finished talking, the end of the conversation was like, we were like, the scary thing is that this conversation we're having is so obvious. Everything is so clear and obvious. And yet us having this conversation is the rare part, and people knowing about this is the rare thing. And we were just both looking at each other like, that's kind of insane to think about, especially when we're at this end of things. You know what I mean? We're at the end where we're just trying to make it through. We're just getting started. We're only 2 to 3 years for our prefrontal lobe being fully formed, you know. And again, the older generation loves to pick and choose when that prefrontal lobe thing matters, right? Because when it suits you guys, oh, we're adults and we should have everything figured out and whatever. And then when it suits you, oh, you guys are just kids. You guys are just young people. You need to shut up and listen. No, you guys need to shut up and listen. You guys need to shut up and listen, because guess what? You ain't even got the stamina to be telling us what to do, to be leading us in what to do anymore. I don't think you guys have the stamina anymore. Because that's what I realized. I was like, I'm looking at these boys and they're taking this on the chin. They're enjoying it. For them, this is their reality. So they don't know any different. They don't know that the exams were not this hard when I did them. So I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, you guys are actually like, you guys are impressive, because I don't know. Who knows what would have happened? Maybe I would have been able to do it. Maybe I wouldn't. But the fact is I didn't have to. And the fact is they do. So I'm just impressed. So I'm impressed with them. And the same way I'm telling you more about them, because then I can tell you about other students, because obviously that's other students to do with my work. So I have to be more confidential about my actual job, you know. But yes, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, and this is the same thing I see in my own classroom. This is the same thing, and it's always the same thing. The kids say, "Wow, if my other lessons are like this, I would love school. If my other lessons are like this, I would love school. If I was this, I would get it. I now finally get it. If I wish I'd known this before, I wish." And I'm just like, and it drives me crazy, because then it's the people who I then try to go and inform of how we can help and how you guys can help, who then don't want to listen. And you're like, well, back in our day, your day's gone. It's gone. And you don't even remember half of it because you're on psychedelics. You don't remember half of it. Right? You guys, your brains are fried. You guys were permitting everything under the sun. It was permissible. You guys, when we're getting married, having 25, 28-year-old men my age marrying 14-year-old girls. I'm looking at these, but I'm like, these are kids, these are children. I can't believe anyone. That's why I find it weird that people I don't care about no justification, because it doesn't matter about the age, what the legal age. I'm looking at these, I'm like, these are children in front of me, and I'm 28. I'm only 13 years older, 12, 13 years older than these guys, right? And I'm looking at them like, oh, they're little babies. So I'm thinking, how is a grown man looking at a little... But then again, that's the point, isn't it? Take somebody that's moldable, that doesn't know anything. That's the whole idea, isn't it? I see that with me and men all the time, the older guys, when they're trying to speak with me and they think, I found myself a nice little piece of clay, my own little pound of flesh piece of clay that I can mold into the wife that I want her to be. I can see the energy in them because they look at me like that, because they just look at me from the outside and they just think they know. They don't realize who I am on the inside, that I'm a fiery warrior of the kingdom of heaven. And once they just get just a flame, they're gonna go running, because they do. And it's funny to watch these grown freaking men, right, when they become intimidated by little old me. And I'm like, oh, well, what happened to looking at me like I was the little lamb, the little moldable, the little pound of flesh modeling clay that you're going to turn into your widow wife? What happened to that? And all you had was a little flame, and you go running, and you don't even know there's a whole fiery furnace in here, mate. You don't even know there's a freaking, do you know what I'm saying? And it's so funny. It's really funny, actually, that dynamic. I just like to say, I really enjoy it. It gets a lot of satisfaction out of it, can't lie. A similar thing, like when I was in London, similar satisfaction, like with this guy I was dealing with, because the guy who was running that place I was telling you guys about just now, he was very crooked. I just like to say, he was the one who ruined the place. The place could have thrived, and every time we did stuff there, like us, the young people, and kind of ignored him, including his own staff, who are also young people, all highly qualified, like insanely talented people, because they were the ones who'd run all the sessions. So they were like insanely just talented and like really, really good in the tech space and just tech whiz, like whatever. Or like one of my friends who was there, he was the producer, and he studied like music and physics, which is honestly the sickest thing I've ever heard in my freaking life. And has worked with a lot of the people in the entertainment industry. He gets royalties, like mixing and mastering, like on a lot of tracks, like a lot of big names, because he would tell me all the big names, that because he was, with the time when I was still working there, he was working on getting his royalties for all the work he's done, because a lot of the work he's done, they hadn't been paying him his royalties. And then again, like I said, to go back to my generation, a couple of days ago, I'm there, with my producer. That was on Saturday. See, this is a full weekend. I'm there with my my producer. We're baking the things. What does he do? He works his normal job. He works hard. He's done this. And then we're out here making music. We're out here talking about how the industry has changed and why we're keeping ourselves at an arm's length, because from like both of us keeping ourselves at arm's length from London, because we don't want to be too much into what's happening. And I'm just like, we're so healthy, and we're so whole, and we're so hardworking, and we're so forward thinking, and we're so proactive, and I'm loving it over here. So yeah, proud member of Generation Z. Don't want to be associated with anything else. And of course, I do feel like a lot of the things I'm saying somewhat apply to the millennials. I just think the millennials are just a little bit more sticklers, and that's not you guys' fault, because you guys kind of were like your generation started out and at the like tail end of when what the older generation did still made sense. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of you still didn't pay for your university, for example, which is a big thing. A lot of you, the circumstances were quite different. So yeah, it's just a fun time. It's just a fun time to be alive. It's a fun time to be alive. And it's insane how, I've realized that, the older people, y'all is really, really, really salty. A lot of you really hella salty, and you guys are gaslighting us, trying to tell us that we're the problem. But actually you guys are the problem, because you guys are the only thing, like I said, in the education system, the only barrier I have to success with the kids is the system itself and the adults who participate in either running or supporting the system. Like parents who think your teacher could never do this. When they're telling me the stories of their teachers and stuff, I'm thinking, yeah, I know that teacher is exactly like that. I know that teacher is exactly like that, etc., etc. Because I was there, and now I'm an adult, so I'm looking back with adult eyes, with the prefrontal lobe fully formed, just because that's everyone wants to talk about. And I'm like, yeah, I still agree. I don't disagree with the things that I thought before. I still agree with them. In fact, I believe them even more, because now I'm an adult and I can look at them with adult eyes, and now I'm even surer of what I thought before. But anyways, I'm going to leave that there. I just wanted to make a video just to say that I am so proud to be a member of Gen Z. I'm so proud of my generation. My generation is the future. I believe my generation is the future. I feel like my generation, I feel like I can work with. I feel like with all the ideals and things that I'm thinking about, if I go to my generation and I explain and I put in the work, I feel like my work will be worthwhile. That's what I enjoyed about that's what I enjoy about working with the kids, and I was enjoying yesterday, like you feel like actually feeling like my hard work is worth it, because I spent most of my life, trying to help, adults and like work amongst adults, doing so many different things to come out with nothing. And that's what I was thinking when I got to my 27th birthday. I was like, I've done all this work to have literally nothing to show for it, and nobody else has even done anything either. But then like I'm working with the kids, and I'm like, my hard work is actually worthwhile, because I love working hard. I just don't want to work hard for something that's not worthwhile. If there's no output, what's the point in the input when there's no actual output? And that's what I spent like 27 years essentially, well, okay, not 27 years, but a lot of my life doing. And so I've been like, God, I don't really want to do anything unless it's going to produce results. And then now whenever I'm working with people in my generation, I'm like, whoa, we're producing results. We're actually getting results. We're actually getting somewhere. They're actually listening. They're actually progressive. They're actually thinking, and we're actually like taking responsibility for our own futures and the future of the world at large. Because again, they were very like And I see how the kids work. A lot of these issues that adults talk about, the kids don't have them. They don't have these issues of like these gender issues that we have, like whether it be, you know, the stuff of people's needing to have their identities acknowledged, or the gender this and the gender that and all this. They don't have these issues when it comes to things like race and this, that, and the other. They don't have these issues with politics and who's left wing, right wing. They don't care. They're respectful of what everybody believes. That's what I find so fascinating about the kids. They're all respectful of each other. Whoever believes whatever, they all respect each other. They all hang out, and they even can make, like the kids, all of them, they can even make jokes about things that adults couldn't handle those jokes. Adults, I remember, because I used to get in trouble for stuff like that at school as well, where the adults would be like, you can't make jokes about that. That's a very serious subject. But me and my friends were laughing about it because we didn't care. We're not so soft. You know, I do think that the older generation is soft, and I feel like it's because like the generation before just did put in so much work, you know what I mean, and was so hardworking. That, again, I'm not talking about the millennials. I just like to add that in there. And I'm just like, oh, so yeah. So I feel now, after the weekend I've had, I feel rejuvenated. Most of the time when I spend time around people, I feel drained and tired. I feel rejuvenated. I woke up this Monday morning ready to go at it, ready for work, ready for everything, ready to do all the things I had to do. I'm here recording videos before I even have to do the other things I have to do. I'm like ready. I'm hungry because I feel like I spent time around people and energy and vibration. I've spent time around vibrations the last 48 hours I can actually work with. And I can actually, that are actually like progressive, and like I'm feeling my adrenaline coming back through my body, and I'm feeling alive, and I'm feeling my body healing. Like, you know, I've been feeling sick. My body feels like it's healing. I feel like my body's healing. I feel like charged up. I feel like, let me keep going. And I'm so excited. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Like, I'm so proud to be a member of Gen Z. I don't want to be acknowledged in any other generation. Listen, if I'm part of the problematic generation, call us the problem. But what you didn't understand is you left a word out there. Then that word is solvers. We are the problem solvers. You guys don't even understand, you know. And so yeah, I'm proud of my generation. I'm proud of us. And guys, if you're a member of my generation and you're watching this video that's become very, very long all of a sudden, I just want you to know that don't listen to the other generations. Let's lock in, okay? Because listen, 20 years from now, 20 years from now, we're going to be the ones wiping their asses anyway, while they're still going to be complaining and still going to be running their mouths. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to be dealing with the mess that they couldn't be bothered to deal with because they're so busy making excuses. So let's us all band together so we can minimize the amount of things that we're going to be dealing with when we get to their age, right? So that our kids are not in our situation, right? Anywho, I'm going to leave that there because if life's a game, was paid to win. Shout out to Gen Z. Shout out to my generation. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.